Hi, guys. You know the deal. I'm always excited. I'm excited. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to be here with y'all. And today's special guest is me. It's me. I am my own special guest. It's just going to be me and y'all today. And it's just going to be like a chat. We're going to have a chat. I'm going to spill some tea. So I'm going to be talking to y'all like y'all are my best friends, and we're just going to kiki this episode. We're going to take a break from politics because I know y'all are tired of me, and I'm tired of y'all. We're gonna not be talking about the Orange Man, and I'm super excited about that. This episode is just gonna be about me, and I'm kind of just like stalling and talking because I'm nervous. Um, so yes, you saw the title. Today we're going to be talking about the fact that I used to strip in college. I know. So typical. I feel like every college girl used to strip. Um but no, I actually did used to strip in college, and it's a very very long story. This is going to be more like a story time, and I may, be going from here to there, but just follow with me because I feel like I've never actually publicly sat down and like said this online. Like I did a show on OWN called All the Single Ladies, and I briefly mentioned like stripping on there. In my comedy, I've done a few jokes about being a stripper, but I've never just like said it and posted it on my Instagram or said it and put it in a place where I feel like people I knew would be able to see it. And honestly, it's because for a long time I was ashamed. I was scared. I was embarrassed. And really, I was just trying to protect myself, But I'm like, as somebody who voluntarily, puts myself on a platform and, yeah, puts myself on a platform. I always think about the fact that it's like I don't want anybody to be able to say something about me that I haven't already said about myself. Like you're not gonna wait till I run for Congress and be like, oh, she used to strip. Yeah, I did used to strip, and I'm gonna tell y'all right now. So if I ever run for president, it's out there. Come find it on my YouTube. It's on the TRC pod episode 5. You know what I mean? So I just always want to be like transparent and authentic and tell y'all my full story. I feel like I call myself the Ratchet Christian, and in LA, I feel like most of my friends just know me, as this good Christian girl, but my friends from back home know that I used to be a little hood rat. And so I feel like I've been telling half the story and not the full story. Like I'm the ratchet Christian for a reason, y'all. I was a baby's kids. I was a hoodlum. I was a hood rat. I was all the things. And like, yeah, before I talked about this, I asked my husband, and not even asked him because he's not like that kind of guy, but just like talk to him about it. Like, babe, I think I'm gonna finally, do an episode talking about this. Are you comfortable with it? How do you feel? And I love my husband. He's always so supportive. And so, yeah, the people who love me know and they care about me. And so I'm stalling. I'm gonna just get to it. I'm gonna just get to it because I know y'all want the tea. So, okay, let's start from the beginning, right? And this is way before we get to college. I'm like, let me give y'all a trigger warning. If you're very sensitive to topics about abuse, if you're sensitive to topics about sexual abuse, I'm going to be covering that in this episode. So if you know that triggers you, just be mindful. Maybe don't watch the episode. I want you to watch it, but I just want to give you a trigger warning that I am going to be talking about sexual abuse. And that's because I went through a lot of it as a young woman. When I think back on my life, I realize I spent most of my young adulthood being sexually assaulted by people. When I first came from Africa, my parents sent me here to live with a relative, and things did not work out well with that relative. I ended up being sexually assaulted by somebody in that home when I was 7. And my cousins at the time were friends with like this really nice Black American family. And so when that Black American family found out what was happening to me at that home, their mom decided to take me and raise me. So I didn't come from Africa to be adopted by Americans. It just so happened that that's what happened. I was sexually assaulted in the home that I was, living at the time when I was 7. And then I was taken by, not taken, but taken care of by a Black American family, and that's my family still to this day. They raised me like their own, and they're my family. So, yeah, when I was 7, I was raped by a relative as a child. And then when I was 8, I was molested by another relative. And this is a super, super dark joke. You guys know I'm a comedian. I have to make a dark joke. I'm just like, I must have been a super hot kid because people could not keep their hands off of me. Like, it's a bad joke. It's dark, and there's nothing funny about that type of stuff. But what can I do, right? I've lived through it. I'm okay. But people are awful and they do awful things to kids. And I was one of those kids that people did awful things to. So before the age of 10, I had already been raped. I had already been molested, and this is by people that I was supposed to be safe around. This is by people that I know and trust. And so, yeah, having been sexually assaulted, and then I think, like, in elementary school, not think I know in elementary school, I don't know whether if it was in 4th or 5th grade, I was exposed to pornography. I started watching porn when I was in, like, 4th grade, because the adults that I was around just had it laying around. Maybe they forgot to take it out of the VHS, and this is like the early 2000s, so yes, it was the VHS. So me and my sister were like, oh, there's a porn tape here. What are we gonna do? Let's watch it. So I was watching porn in elementary school. Um, I found nudie magazines. Like, one of my uncles had left a nude magazine laying around, and I used to flip through the nude magazine. I had a picture of a naked woman in my pocket in 4th grade. I just carried it with me. Like, my wires had been so crossed by the time that I was in 4th grade. Like, what was normal, what was not normal. Like, I just really had no concept of that because I had just been so over sexualized and exposed to sex from a very, very, very young age. And of course, after the sexual assault, and because I ended up in foster care, like, I had a lot of conversations with therapists and stuff. I remember, you have to go through the whole therapy process where the therapist sits you down and is like, why don't you show me on the dolls, like, what happened? I still remember that as a kid, like, the therapist being like, here's a boy doll and here's a girl doll. Show me what happened to you. And so naturally, you take them, you put them together. And it's like, duh, that's what happened to me. And so, yeah, from a very young age, that type of stuff was just around me. And then in, like, middle school, middle school, my sister had a house party, right? I'm at my house, in my house. My sister had a house party, and there was this guy around the neighborhood who was probably, like, in his 20s. I know he was much older than us. I was probably like 12. And my sister had a house party. My mom was out of town, so people from the neighborhood came to the party. I'm in my house. People are drinking, it's dark. I, like, in the apartment that we used to live in, there was a hall closet, a walk-in closet next to the bathroom. And so during this house party, I'm walking to the bathroom. Somebody opens the closet door and pulls me inside. I'm in my home. Like, I'm not out in the streets. I'm not somewhere I'm not supposed to be. I'm at my home in a house full of people where I should be safe. Somebody opens up the closet door and pulls me into it, and I realize, I'm just like, what the hell? It's dark. I make out a face in the darkness, and I realize it's this guy from the neighborhood that we used to see all the time. And he was a creep from the start. I remember him asking me, we were just all outside. He was like, do you have your V card? And I thought he asked me, like, do you have your green card? I thought he was asking me if I was a citizen. I'm like, yeah, I have my green card. What are you talking about? But then I realized later on that he asked me if I had my V card, if I was a virgin. You're grown. Why are you asking me this? But this is a guy that just hung out in the neighborhood. He was friends with everybody. Um, and so we're at a house party in my house. This guy pulls me into a closet and is trying to assault me. And I remember asking him, like, please let me go. I'm like, please let me go. Like, how are you going to try to hurt me in my own home, in a room, in a house full of people? And so he ends up not doing anything to me. He lets me go. I go to the bathroom, and I don't think I told anybody about that for years. For years. And that's the thing about sexual assault. It's like, it just happens out of nowhere. Anytime I've been sexually assaulted, I was around people I should have been safe around. I was in homes with people that I knew. And in the line of work that I do now, I work in a mental health field, And because I work in a mental health field, I have a bachelor's degree in sociology. Like, I've learned that victims of abuse are more likely to be re-victimized, which is so crazy to me. It's like, if you've been sexually assaulted, you're more likely to be sexually assaulted, which happened to me plenty of times. So that's in middle school, right? And so now, like, towards the end of high school, mind you, I'm going into young adulthood, no conversations about the birds and the bees. The last conversation that I had about sex was when the therapist told me, "Show me what happened to you using the dolls." Nobody told me, like, this has happened to you in your childhood. You're more likely to, fall into this. Be mindful. Hold on to whatever little bit of virginity that you have left, if you even have any. Um, and, don't let boys use you and abuse you for sex. Nobody had the birds and the bees to talk with me. The closest that I got to the birds and the bees conversation was when my best friend's aunt pulled me aside and was like, "Excuse my language. I'm just going to say it how she said it." My best friend's aunt saw me walking with a boyfriend. I was dating an older guy at the time. And she popped through her apartment door. She was like, "Is that your boyfriend?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "You fucking?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Get on birth control." That was the extent of my birds and bees conversation. And I appreciate it. I held on to that advice. That's the reason why I'm 32 with no kids, because I know niggas was trying to trap me. I was going places. But that's the extent of the conversation that I had about sex, was if you're going to have sex, get on birth control. And I did. And so now, I'm a young woman. I'm in high school. I'm sexually active. My senior year, no, after my senior year, I graduated college when I was 17. I started modeling because, of course, why not? I started modeling in my local town in Frederick, period. And I used to be on this website called Model Mayhem, where, photographers and videographers could reach out to models to work together to do like for trade for print work. So I had this photographer in New York reach out to me. It's like, "Hey, I would love to film you. I would love to shoot with you. Come out to New York." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I just graduated high school. I have my first photo shoot in New York. I'm a star. I've made it. You can't tell me that I haven't made it." And so me, my cousin, and my sister, we catch the Chinatown bus to New York because I was living in Maryland at the time. And so it was just a 4-hour drive there. And we show up to the photo shoot. And the photographer, he seems nice enough. He tells my sister and my cousin, like, we're going to be here for a while. Like, we got this covered. Why don't you guys catch the train down to Central Park, and she'll give you a call when we're done. And my sisters and cousin were just like, "Okay." So they left me in this studio with this guy, which I wasn't alarmed about. I'm like, "Okay, I've done photo shoots before. No big deal." Solomon, can you pull up the picture for me? Guys, look, I was a baby. Like, that. I was a child. I was 17 years old in this picture. This was my first photo shoot in New York. And I'm in the room alone with this guy filming. And it's at this moment that he took this picture of me, that he unzipped his pants and took his dick out. Yes, this man flashed me as he took this picture of me when I was 17 years old. And he kept his dick out the whole time. And because I'm alone with him, I don't want him to kill me, I just didn't react. I thought, I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to act like I don't even see it. And that's what I did for the rest of the shoot. I just acted like nothing happened. My sisters and cousin came back and picked me up. We spent the rest of the day in New York shopping, eating pizza. Because to me, at that point, I'm just like, niggas is weird. Like, they just do weird stuff to me. That just happens to be my portion in life, that people are weird sexually around me. And so that happened to me at 17. And then I go off to college, and I always make a joke about, like, um, I stopped being a hoe when it became socially acceptable. You know what I mean? I changed my life, the whole story. I'll that's a whole story for another day. But yeah, so that happened. I go off to college. I'm dating. I'm not really out in the streets like that in college, because I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna turn over a new leaf. I'm a new woman. I don't want to be mixed up with nobody in these Towson streets, right? And so I was in one long-term relationship for most of college. I broke up with him. And then, like, my junior year, I started dating this guy that lived next door to me. And he Oh, he was a Kappa. So you know the stereotypes about Kappas. That man put me the shimmy, Solomon, the shimmy. show them your shimmy. That was smooth a little bit. Yeah. I know you was out there hurting the girls, okay? This guy was a Kappa and he put me through it, bro. He put me through it. That guy was having sex with everybody, including me. He was fucking my friends. And I just kind of just dealt with it. I just dealt with it. I lived next door to him. Like, I would just go over there, smoke his weed, drink his liquor, and was just delusional that maybe one day I would be his girlfriend. Like, he treated me like shit. He treated me so bad. I had so much anxiety dealing with him. I was so insecure. Like, I can honestly say, like, that guy, my junior year of college, he broke me. By the time I moved out of that apartment building where we were neighbors, I had lost like 10 pounds. And I only weighed 120 pounds to begin with. You know, my junior year of college, I only weighed 110 pounds because this man has stressed me out so bad. And so it was that summer in college, my junior year, after I just ended that horrible situationship with this guy, that I was like, okay, my senior year is coming up. I have to move off campus. And where I'm moving, there isn't a shuttle. How am I going to get back and forth to class? And for some reason, I always knew that my life would lead to the strip club. I just always knew. I remember I was, you know, at home with my foster mom and my sister, and I was drinking. And I said, like, I'm not afraid to shake a little bit of ass. I'm not afraid. If I have to strip, I have to. And I remember my foster mom from the back room being like, Ashma, don't talk like that. But it was just something about it that I'm like, if it came down to it, if I ever had to take my clothes off for money, I would do it. I mean, I had already been so desensitized to sex. What's taking off my clothes in a room full of strangers? People have been touching me my whole life, you know? And so, yeah, that summer, I was like, okay, well, I need a car. How am I going to make enough money to buy a car before senior year other than stripping? I'm going to be a stripper. And so my best friend at the time, I don't even think maybe I Googled strip clubs nearby because she had a car and I didn't. So I Googled like 2 strip clubs and she drove me to both of them. And one of them was this place called Scores in Baltimore. And so my friend gave me the advice of like, work at a white strip club, work at a club where there aren't a lot of black girls so that you can make money. And that was actually pretty solid advice. So shout out to her. So I ended up, hold on, let me fix this little bayang. I ended up working at a strip club called Scores. There it is. You can keep this on there because I have a whole story about that. Like when I was Googling the pictures of this place, like it was just so like, I can't believe I used to do that. I can't believe y'all, I used to be right on this stage, eagle spread. Okay. This pole, like I'm going to tell y'all more about like stripper culture and stuff, but it's just like, I started stripping when I was 20. It was that summer of my senior year. I was 20 years old. I was like, I need to, you know, make enough money to buy a car. My friend drove me to the strip club. I filled out an application that was like 1 page. I think it had like your name, your age, and maybe that's it. You know what I mean? They don't need to know that much information about you. And then I got the job on the spot. I think maybe I had like a 5-minute interview. Then they're like, yeah, sure, come in tomorrow. You can start. And I was like, oh shit, I'm a stripper. Okay. And so my friend's aunt let me stay with her for the summer. She let me, and I told her too, because she was so supportive, so loving. This was the same aunt that was like, look, you need to get on birth control. And so we had that type of rapport where I'm like, look, Amy, like, I'm stripping because I need some money. And she's like, girl, you got to do what you got to do. Take my car. I love her. Still to this day, I love that woman because that's who I had by my side, you know? And so my first day at the club, you know, the manager is giving me the breakdown of everything. She was like, you can take the picture down for now. She was like, this is how it goes. Like you have a $20 like house fee. So you start your day, you have to just give the manager or the establishment $20 like just for the day. That's your house fee, $20 being there. You have your like there's like a booth, not a booth. There's like a upstairs to like get ready, and so you have your little table, your sectional where you're gonna be sitting to get dressed and stuff. And so I picked a spot where I'm gonna be sitting to get dressed and all that. Um, Lap dances. I think lap dances were like 40. I think lap dances were either 40 or 80, and you had to give the house $20 of that. Private dances were 120, and you had to give the house 40 of that. And so every time you made a little bit of money, the house made a little bit of money. And so you want to make sure that you make enough to cover your house fee, and that you leave with a little bit of something. And so you have like a rotation with the girls, like you have a set, right? Solomon, can you put the picture of the club back up? So upstairs, when you go up those stairs, our dressing room is up there. The DJ booth is like to the left, right? And so you come from down those stairs. You come from the dressing room, you go down the stairs, and there's like a little spray bottle with disinfectant near the stage. And so you start your set, you have to always clean the pole. You have to clean the pole. And so you have like a little squeegee. You spray the pole down and try to make it sexy that you're sanitizing the pole. It was insane. So you're spraying down the pole, you'll do a little shake, you wipe it down, and then you go scurry and put the disinfectant back off to the side of the stage. And then you do your set, and then you're in a rotation of like whoever's working that day. So you have to remember like who's before you, so that if you're in a private dance or if you're doing a lap dance, you got to run back upstairs and get back in rotation so you can get back on that pole and get some ones. And so, yes, the rotation off to the like left right there, there's like another small stage. And the 2 or 3 pole tricks that I knew, these 2 Russian sisters taught me. And I know how to like grab the pole and like swing myself upside down, go like, woo, like I only know 2 tricks and it was enough to make some money. And so I have love in my heart for the Russians because 2 Russian sisters taught me how to pole dance. I don't know their names. They took me under their wing and they were very tall, oddly tall. They were super tall, but they were nice. And I saw them that summer. I did 2 tours. So the people who do know that I stripped don't know that I actually stripped for 2 summers. So I stripped the summer before senior year. I didn't end up graduating on time. So I had 1 more summer after that and I stripped again. I did 2 tours. Okay. And so I want to show y'all the body I was stripping with. Okay. Solomon, can you pull up? Period. Who is she? Who is she? This is such a far cry from that first picture where it's like I was kind of innocent. I was wearing like, army green fatigue. This was my stripper body. This is the body I was stripping with. And I was actually stripping in those same shoes. I never bought the clear shoes. They were super expensive before they were on Fashion Nova. I used to strip in heels from Charlotte Russe. And when I say that in my comedy, I mean it. Those heels were from Charlotte Russe, and I did used to strip in them. And I actually even think I've worn that dress to the strip club before. But I feel like my eyes just look so lifeless. Like so much had happened around that time. I was I was 20 years old. I was at the club. I wasn't old enough to drink at the club. And so I used to get in trouble all the time because guys would buy me drinks and I would drink them. They would have to sneak them to me. But I had one of the bartenders that's like, you're only 20. You're not supposed to be in here drinking. I'm like, I'm in here butt naked. I'm not supposed to be in here butt naked either. The least I could do is get a drink, Um, but yeah, so I was also modeling around that time. All the things to get validation really is what just comes down to validation, attention, something to make me feel good about myself, to feel wanted and important. I've always been somebody that got attention, but most of the time it was just the wrong type of attention from the wrong people for the wrong reasons. And so yeah, when I look back at these photos of myself, like first of all, I still look good. So let's start there. I'm like, you look good, girl. Okay, my stomach is not that flat anymore. I was very toned. But I just want to go back and give myself a hug because it's like it was that version of myself that has me sitting in this chair today. And so I don't have any shame anymore about it. I had to do what I had to do. And that girl looking back at me, it was a girl that was doing what she had to do, knowing that that wasn't going to always be life. and I could like I could cry about it. To just see myself looking back at me at where I am now and how happy I am and still doing what I love. Still I'm just I'm grateful for that version of myself. Um and I'm not ashamed. Yeah, I'm proud of myself. And I'm very grateful for that version of me because that version of me is what got me to this version of me. That was the ratchet that got me to the Christian. Um and so yeah, I had some strip club beef. I had some beef there. Um um my experience as a stripper, it was a blessing. It was not bad. It was not bad. I feel like people were kind to me for the most part. Like I worked with uh soccer moms. There was women whose husbands dropped them off, after they dropped the kids off at daycare. Like they just did that like as a career. Their husbands were supportive. There were women who genuinely loved doing it. There was one girl who was putting herself through law school. There women they just had stories and people were there to it was an ends to a means for most of us. You know what I mean? It's like people needed something and this was the way that they knew how to get it. And so I have a lot of respect and admiration for women who are in sex work because I understand having a need and not having the support maybe around you to fulfill it. And so I got along with most of the girls. My strip club had really good food. I mean, it was in Baltimore, so Maryland has amazing food. I always joke with my husband and say the chef used to solicit me chicken wings in exchange for sex. You know what I mean? He used to like, I could give you some free wings, if you could. I'm like, ain't nobody sleeping with you, Tavon, for some wings. Okay, I can afford some wings. Um, but he genuinely was a nice guy. He was cool. But I'm like, I'm not sleeping with you just to get free food. You're insane. So yeah, the guys were nice. The security sometimes will walk you to your car. Um, I remember one day I had gotten so drunk at the club. I was, drunk driving home, listening to Gucci Man, like, swerving over potholes, just like driving through Baltimore like it was Gotham. I was a menace. I was smoking a black and mild, hanging out the window. I was a hood rat for real. For real, for real. I always had a half smoked black and mild in my car. Always. By the grace of God, I made it home that night. I went inside. I was like, let me make me some ramen noodles. And I was so drunk, I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up an hour later with my house almost on fire because I didn't put water in the noodles. I was that drunk. But by the grace of God, there goes I. Okay. I used to pray every day before I went into the club. At this time, like I knew God, but I didn't know Jesus. I knew who God was. I knew that God loved me. I didn't understand like how the whole Jesus thing works, so I just didn't know to pray to Him. Like I grew up going to church with my foster family, so it's like I had a semblance of religion, but it wasn't a personal, super personal relationship with Jesus. But I knew God was there. I knew that I needed to pray to make sure that I got home safe every night, that I didn't get addicted to drugs. There was another group of two strippers there who were also very nice to me. They used to, do cocaine in the stairs and offer me some, but I would just smoke cigarettes with them. Like, I don't want no coke, babe, but I would love a cigarette. Yes. Never done cocaine. I've been offered a lot in life, which makes me feel like I'm a cool person. I'm chill. People want to offer me coke. They know I'm cool. I ain't no stitch. I'm not a judgy Christian. I'm a cool Christian. You can offer me coke. I don't want none. But a vape or a cigarette, I will take. I need a little something to get the edge off. Give me a shot of something. That was my vice, was drinking and smoking. I knew, because I'm like, if I do something and I like it, I want to keep doing it. I'm not going to do cocaine. I already have enough problems going on. I have enough trauma. I don't need drug addiction to be one of them. So that's one of the things that I'm like, no, we're not doing that. And so, yeah, for the most part, I got along with the girls at the club. But there was this one girl, though, that I had beef with. And I feel like her and I had beef because she was another brown girl in the club. And I don't know what nationality she was. She was this muddy brown color. She could have been from Arizona or Sri Lanka. I don't care. I know that sounds horrible, but she was just odd. She was odd looking, and she was mad. Yeah, she was mad that I was there. Never spoke two words to this girl, right? And so one day, at my little like get ready desk or whatever, I usually have a fan. All the girls told me to, like, always make sure you have a fan so that in between dances you can come up here and cool off, redo your makeup, spray perfume, and go back out on the floor so you can keep making your money. And so I came back upstairs one day and my fan was broken. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Who broke my fan? And so I went to the manager and I was like, pull up the cameras. Somebody broke my fan, because before I went downstairs to do my set on the pole, my fan was not broken. And when I came back, it was back on my desk broken. So it's not like it had fallen and it was on the ground and I met it there. No, somebody broke it and then they put it right back where it was. And so the manager pulled up the footage and she told me, she was like, oh, it's such and such. She was seen on the camera breaking your fan. I said, well, you better tell her to get me another one, or else we're going to have a problem. I wasn't playing with those hoes at the strip club. Never played like that. And now that I'm in church, I don't be playing either. I wasn't playing with the hoes at the strip club. I'm not playing with you hoes at church. I'm not playing with you hoes at work. I have never played with you hoes, ever. And then I have to remember, like, I smile. That was your past life. We don't handle things like that anymore. You don't have to fight. You don't have to defend yourself. You're safe. God loves you. God is your defender. God is your protector. Like, but that's my background of how I react to stuff. I come from having to be defensive because hoes was playing with me. I come from having to be defensive because niggas was always touching on me. Like, I come from a place of not being safe. So this is the safest I've ever felt in my life. And so the girl, to get back to the story of the girl, she buys me a new fan. And let me tell you, this petty bitch, I'm cussing today. This girl, I get to work, she has this fan on my desk. Solomon, can you pull out the fan says chill out. This was the fan this girl bought me and sat it on my desk and didn't say anything. I said, maybe the average person wouldn't read that as shade, but it was stripper shade. Solomon, don't you think that's shade, bro?
I'm just laughing.
That's shade. I said, this shady bitch, like, whatever, but at least she bought the fan because she knew better. Yeah, but bring my fan back, a brand new one. We can throw fun shade all we want to. Don't touch my stuff. Don't touch my stuff. And so that was like the one and only beef that I really have for real. One of the bartenders didn't like me. And she didn't like me for a stupid reason too, but I was also kind of naive. Like, I was a very unprofessional stripper. I was 20. I used to take my water bottle out on the dance floor and it had my college logo on it, and the bartender used to yell at me and be like, you can't take that out on the floor. And I'm like, why? But I'm like, I guess it kind of breaks the fantasy up for men. You know what I mean? That I'm walking around with like a water bottle. What else? I asked one of the girls, I was like, okay, so like when you're on your period, obviously like you can't come to work, right? Because we're dancing naked. She's like, no, we all strip on our periods, girl. She was like, get a tampon, push it all the way in, cut the string and tuck it inside so you can come to work and make your money. And so I was like, I never knew that strippers dance on their period. She was like, duh. So like that type of stuff. There was another girl that started around the same time as me. She was Indian and she went by the name of Princess Jasmine. Her and I, we never really talked like that. She was quiet. I remember like the first summer we worked together, we started like being the new girl at the club is like being like the new shiny plaything. You know what I mean? Like everybody wants to give you money. Everybody is like inviting you to do dances. Like it was cool being new, And so that summer her and I stripped together. She was timid. She was cool, whatever. The next summer I came back and the girl came back too, Princess Jasmine. And she was like a shark, dude. Like she was like a completely different person. She did not play around. She was not playing by her money. She didn't have time to talk to you. Like I just saw this girl transform like before my eyes, and I'm just like, let me get up out of here. Maybe I'm like that, and I don't know. I know for sure that it changed me. I didn't have the insight to see what it was like, on the outside looking in, but I knew that her demeanor was completely different. And how can that not change you? I don't think it's normal to be able to take off your clothes in a room full of strangers. Something is wrong. At some point, somebody hurt you, your wires got crossed in some way. And so I have a lot of empathy for people who go into porn or people who do OnlyFans or people who end up stripping, because it's just like, now that I'm so far removed from that, you can give me $1 billion to take my clothes off in front of anybody besides my husband, because I'm whole. I'm complete. I'm not lacking in anything. I'm loved by God. I'm loved by the people around me. I'm safe. Like, I don't need anything. So there's nothing that you could offer me to degrade myself in that way. Not to, shade women who are still in that lifestyle, but it's like, I share these stories because it's like, if you're somebody who's like overtly sexual or you're thinking about doing sex work, like, just deeply ask yourself why. Is it something from your childhood? Did somebody touch you? Was an uncle inappropriate with you? Was an aunt, because women are predators too, who hurt you? But like, for real, because as I was making all these decisions as a young woman, a majority of it was unconscious. It was in my health 101 class my senior year of college that I realized all of the statistics that I fell into because I was a victim of sexual abuse as a child. I learned about, and I didn't have a chance to send this to you. I don't know if you're able to Google it, but there's this thing called it's ACE. The acronyms are ACE, ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences. It's like this mechanism. It's like a test that therapists came up with, and it's like a scale of like trauma. It gives you like a list of like traumas that people have experienced in life. And so you take this test to see how many like, high ranking traumas that you've experienced. Um, and if you score like, and I think it's 10 questions. And so if you score more than 4 out of those 10 questions, like, you were experienced to a very, very high level of trauma in your childhood. And people who are experienced to high levels of childhood and trauma uh, live shorter lives. Oh, is that it? Yeah.
That's one of them.
Yeah, that's one of them. So, not this one, but if you Google ACE, adverse childhood experiences, take the test, see how many of those things, like if you've been like a victim of a violent crime, if you've witnessed domestic violence, if your parents have been divorced, like all of these things. And it's like, out of 10 of those questions, I had answered yes to 6 of them. And if you scored 4 or higher, you were intensely traumatized. Yeah, there you go. This is the one. Yes, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Test. It's called the ACEs test. And it basically just lets you know where you fall on so the scale, like 67% of y'all will fall on minimal impact. And then there are 12.6% of people who are severe impact. When I take that test, I'm in that 12.6. I am a refugee of a civil war. I am a product of the foster care system. I have not only been raped, but I've also been molested. I have ended up in sex work. I have stripped. And all of those things stem from having been exposed to sex at such a young age. And that's why I'm so passionate about, I've said this a few times on my channel, sex is not for children. It's not to be brought to them. It's not for them to be exposed to. Our minds at a young age cannot handle that. And so it bends over backwards to try to make sense of it. And a lot of the conclusions that we end up coming to as trauma survivors are not healthy ones. You're just doing your best to cope. I drank a lot in college. I smoked weed. I smoked cigarettes, smoked black and miles. Like, I just wanted to always feel something other than what it was I was feeling at the time, And even now, sometimes, like, I'll go 4 years and not drink. I'll go a year and not drink, 6 months and not drink. I've always felt like I shouldn't drink, but it's always been kind of like a back and forth thing of me not wanting to stop. I've been drinking since I was 16 years old. I've been smoking cigarettes and, tobacco and nicotine since I was 16, 17 years old. And even still to this day, it's a struggle for me to not hit a vape every now and then. I still want to smoke if it's around me. I don't, like I get weird when I smoke weed, so I just don't. I feel like it puts a distance between my relationship with Jesus, so I just don't. But these cravings are still there. I opened all of these doors when I was very, very young, and it has only been the power of Christ that has really just helped me to have a healthier relationship with myself, helped me to have a healthier relationship with sex, helped me to have a healthy relationship with substances, because I was just exposed to all of that stuff at a very, very young age. I'm gonna share this last little story from the strip club. So my last tour, my last summer at the club, I remember one day I was sitting at the bar. Solomon, can you pull up the picture of the club? So I was sitting at the bar, and to the left of me, like, yeah, somewhere right there. I was right here. I was like sitting like over here somewhere. So I'm sitting right here, right? And this guy comes and like sits. I'm sitting right here. This guy comes and like sits beside me, like within this vicinity. And he was like, "Can you buy me a drink?" And I'm like, "Can I buy you a drink? Can I buy you a drink?" Nigga, is you crazy? You came to the strip club asking me to buy you a drink? No, I can't buy you no drink. And so he asked me to buy him a drink. I told him no. He said, and I was like, "Why can't you buy your own drink and buy me one too?" He's like, "Well, I'm homeless right now. I'm living at a shelter down the street, but I'm supposed to get a check tomorrow. And when I do, excuse me, I'm going to come in here and spend it all on you." And I just rolled my eyes. I'm like, if I had $1 for every single time a man told me that they was going to come in here and spend a check on me, I would have a lot of dollars and I wouldn't be at work today. And so I just ignored him. I ain't got the time to be sitting up here at the bar talking to you. You ain't spending no money. Go ahead and go. So I walk away from this guy, and like a few days later, I'm upstairs getting dressed, and the manager, one of the girls tells me like, "Paris, there's somebody here for you." I didn't tell you, by the way, that my stripper name was Paris. It was, and I got that because when I was younger, people used to tell me that I looked like a black Paris Hilton. I was in Walmart one day and this lady walked up to me. "You are so beautiful. You look just like a black Paris Hilton." And my brain was like, "You need to store this information because you gonna need it." So when I was looking for a stripper name, it was just like, I just knew all my paths was leading here. I just knew, I'm like, one day I'm gonna strip. And so it wasn't hard to think of a stripper name. I was like, oh, I'll just be Paris. And so I'm upstairs getting dressed. One of the dancers was like, "Paris, there's a guy downstairs for you." And I'm like, "Who is downstairs for me?" I didn't know anybody was stopping by. I go back to the bar. I go downstairs, and it's the guy from a few days before who had asked me to buy him a drink. And so, like, he sits me down. He's like, "I told you I'd come back." He sits me down, and he was like, "Do you want something to eat? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty?" And we sat right here. This is so crazy. We sat right here, and that man bought me dinner. He bought me dinner. He bought me drinks all night long, and every couple of minutes he tipped me $20. He would tip me $20. He was like, "I know that you're losing time sitting, you're losing money sitting here talking to me, and I don't want to waste your time." So he bought me something to eat, bought me something to drink, and was tipping me for my time, tipping me for my conversation. And I must have sat there with him for probably like almost 2 hours, making free money. I was like, "Do you at least want to dance?" He said, "No, that's fine." He never asked me for a dance. He never asked me to take my clothes off. It's like that guy paid me to be on a date with him. And then he left. And then he left. But before he left, because he had told me earlier, the first time I met him, that he was homeless. I'm like, for a homeless man, you got a lot of money. Hey, money is money. I ain't gonna ask you where you got it from. But I told him, I was like, "Hey, if you're still staying in the shelter, I want you to know that if you're ever hungry, you can come back to this club and I'll buy you something to eat. I want to return the favor. I really appreciate it, how you treated me tonight." And so he was like, "Okay, thank you. I appreciate that." In my mind, I'm like, this is one of those touched by an angel moments. I feel like God was speaking to me. I'm like, "Okay, God, I know a sign when I see one. I'm sure I'll never see that guy again, but maybe this is a sign that I need to leave this life behind. The man comes back the next day, bro. And he's like, remember you said that you would buy me something to eat if I was hungry? I don't have any money. I'm hungry. And not only that, he was like, can I have some of the money that I gave you yesterday back? No, you cannot have some of the money that you gave me yesterday back. I'm not holding this money for you. I'm not a bank. I said, no, I'm not giving you back any of your money, but I will buy you something to eat. So now I sit him down. Again, this is the third time now. Now I sit him down and I buy him lunch and we eat. We have a conversation. He leaves. After he leaves, my manager pulled me aside and she was like, Paris, because remember, that's my stripper name. A smile was too hard to say. She was like, Paris, this is the third time that this man has been in this club for you. We don't want people like that in here. And I'm thinking to myself, people like that sound kind of prejudiced to me. You know what I mean? Yes, he's not dressed the nicest. Yes, he's not the cleanest. But that's the nicest guy I've ever met in this club. And that day, I quit the strip club and I never went back. So as a comedian, I may make jokes about homeless people, but I mean no harm because that homeless man, I've been telling that story now for almost 13 years. He impacted my life so much. I don't know his name. I don't know who he is, but I have never forgotten him. He came to that club and treated me like a daughter. I've had guys come to the strip club and be like, I feel like you're not supposed to be in here. I'm like, and I'm not, but neither are you. So let's not do this sentimental moment. Give me the money and let's dance. You know what I mean? But it's like I always had those moments of just people showing me kindness. I always knew that God was with me in that circumstance. I always knew that it was God that was getting me home safely and protecting me because there's people who go into strip clubs and their lives are never the same. And I got out of there pretty unscathed. And I also saved up enough money to buy me a car. That's what I was missing, dude. I should have put a picture of the car that I bought. It was a piece of junk. It was a piece of junk because I didn't make that much money. I made a decent amount, but I bought a 2000 Dodge Stratus from Craigslist that I feel like it had like blood splatter on the ceiling. When I bought the car, I was like, what is this on the ceiling? They're like, it's nothing. It's an old car. But I feel like it was one of those cars from like, the cars that they were bringing down from Hurricane Katrina, like the ones that had flood damage and they were selling them all across the U.S. I probably ended up buying one of those Hurricane Katrina cars with my stripper money. But that car got me to and fro for almost 2 years. I had hot pink cheetah seats, you know what I mean? Still smoking my Black and Milds, yes, that's what I'm talking about, Solomon. That's the car that I bought with my stripper money. But mine was blue and his name was Nathaniel. But it was this exact car. That was what my hard-earned dancing career bought me. Baby, I've always been a hard worker. And I've always been a go-getter. If I want something, I'm going to go after it. I just don't need to use my body to do it. But I got the car, so it wasn't for nothing. I left with a lot of good stories. I left with a greater understanding of the human experience. I talk about celibacy a lot on here. I talk about the fact that I waited for marriage. I talk about how, I'm pro-life or whatever. And I always want y'all to understand that I don't do that from a place of judgment. I've been on the other side of that. I've been promiscuous. I've been a victim. I've been a stripper. I'm not better than anybody. Only thing difference is God saw me. I don't know why. God loves me. God pursues me. God protects me. I am where I am. And not to make it seem like I'm at this pedestal. I'm alive and I'm well because of God. Not because of, I'm better than anybody or when I talk about waiting until marriage, it's not to look down on anybody. It's just the fact that I know that those are the things that have transformed my life. Like all of the major life lessons that I have been taught have come around the areas of dating and sex and relationship. That's where God has had to do the most transformation in my life. You know what I mean? To not be combative, to not be so reactive. Like I be going back and forth with y'all in the comments because I'm a fighter. I grew up fighting. I was stripping in Baltimore. Yeah, you see me here in LA with my little, cup, like living my life. But I used to scrap. And I don't want to be so far removed from that I think I'm holier than thou, because I'm not. I'm still figuring it out. You know, sometimes a perfect day to me would be just taking a few shots of Casamigos and smoking a blunt and maybe having some day sex. Like, but I know those types of things are what put distance between me and God. I can do it temporarily to satisfy myself, but deep down, sometimes I'm a very lonely person. And I feel like God is the one who fills that void for me. And so instead of going to substances and things, I know that I should go to God. And so, yeah, that's just a little bit of my story. Before we get out of here, I want to read like a scripture really quick, because this Bible isn't just here for decoration. Mostly it's decoration, but I also read it too. There's this scripture that I absolutely love, and it always reminds me of my relationship with God while I was at the strip club, because I always knew that, God was protecting me. I always knew that I had favor and I had angels making sure that I got home safely. And I feel like I used to pray, like, God, please help me make some money today. And He would help me make some money, you know? So this scripture is in Psalm 139, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 14. So follow with me. And the translation is the NIV. And so it says, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Praise you. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and that I know full well." I love that scripture so much. And my favorite part of it is like, where can I go from your presence, God? If I go to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, there you are also. And there's never been a time in my life where I felt like God wasn't with me. I know that God doesn't love me more now than He did when I was at the strip club. God's love was just as strong for me there as it is in this very moment as I'm testifying to His goodness. And so I don't know where you've made your bed. I don't know what your bed is. I don't know what's the worst thing that you feel like God can't forgive you of, or God won't understand, or He wasn't in those moments with you. But I share my testimony to let you know that there's nothing that you can do to make God not love you. There's nowhere that you can go outside of His presence. There's some days where I really, really get it right, and I feel like I'm such a good Christian. And then there's days like this where I'm cussing. I might even leave here and hit a vape. I might take a shot of tequila and feel like I'm falling so short and that I'm such a bad person. And then I remember, okay, God, what can I do to make you not love me? There's nothing. There's nothing I can do. And so, because I didn't earn it, I can't lose it. And I'm so grateful for all that I am and all that I have. Like, it's all because of God. It's all because of Jesus. So I think I'm so passionate and so outspoken about my faith because God is very real to me. I don't believe because somebody told me. I believe because God got me home safely from that strip club in Baltimore every night. So, yeah, um, I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful. I'm super, super grateful. I don't take anything back. I would do it the same way 100 times for these results. I'm very happy with the life that I live. I love the person that I am. I love the relationship that I have with God. I'm in love. I'm married to the love of my life. I'm pursuing my dreams. I moved to California. There's nothing that God has promised me that He hasn't brought to pass. So I just want to encourage you. I just want to encourage you. Just let you know that Jesus loves you. And there's nothing that He can't forgive or redeem. And this is very, very redeeming for me to be able to just sit and talk about this and to have y'all listen. I really, really appreciate it. And so we're going to wrap it up right here. If you haven't done so already, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, share the episode because I know y'all are nosy. Yes, T, send it to your friend. Did you know that you used to? I sure did. Yeah. Yeah. Let them know. Send it to your cousin and them. But also let's talk in the conversation in the comments. If you've ever danced before, I want to hear your story. And I just want to let y'all know that I really, really appreciate y'all. I'm really enjoying this podcast, and I hope you guys are too. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.